On today's show, if this is the Luka we're going to get in this series, what does it mean for the Dallas Mavericks? And was it just a Magnets game, or was there something else for this Mavs team? We'll talk about all that and more about Game 4 on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section what's one reason the Mavs lost Game 4 to the Clippers. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I got a competitive side. I know that you do. I know that this guy has a competitive side to him, too. So download Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on a classic game of Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now on the App Store or Google Play. And joining me, as always, co-host, writer, contributor, Mavs.com. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Hi, Slightly.
Hey,
Is this
buddy.
our official meeting, Slightly?
This is our official meeting.
I can't hear anything. Slightly's like a folk hero. I just have one thing to say. When you give up uncontested James Harden 4-foot floaters over and over,
It's not going to go well.
you're probably not going to win. That's all I wanted to say. Peace out.
Boom.
That's the episode, guys. Tune in tomorrow. Nick will have Dana Larson on.
But joining me, for real, as always on a post game from the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, what you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Oh, playoff basketball, man. It's excruciating.
It gives and it takes.
It does. It does. You're on top of the world. 40 hours later, it's just whew.
It gives and it takes. The Mavs lose Game 4, 111 to 116. They finally broke like the 101-point barrier, which they hadn't yet so far this season. But the Mavs go down 31 in this game. We'll talk about we'll talk about Kyrie Irving going off for 40 points, absolutely massive for him. We'll talk about the shot making of the Clippers. We'll talk about the Mavs going down early and why they went down early and all that. But let's start here because it's a loss, and so you kind of always have to steer negative after a loss like that. Luka Doncic, although he had a 29-point, 10-rebound, 10-assist game, just 3 turnovers too, was 1 of 9 from 3. And this series had turned around because of his defense. The biggest thing that changed from Game 1 to Game 2 was Luka stepped up, said to the rest of his team, I don't want help. I don't want somebody helping me on defense. I want to win my matchup one-on-one. Luka gets 2 fouls early, which helps the Clippers in their early huge run that they went to go up 31. Then he has 5 fouls in this game with how many minutes left? He has 5 fouls with just about 6 minutes left in this game. And I have given Luka so much credit for his defense in these last couple of games. He was a turnstile at the end of this game, over and over, just giving up hardened floaters, and it was just too easy for the Clippers at the end, and the Mavs did their best. They fought all the way back, but they just ran out of gas and ran out of stuff, and I think Luka is kind of at the center of it because he's at the center of it when they're successful.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear and obvious that he's not healthy. I mean, he's limping up and down the floor, and he's just not moving. And where it's obvious is on his drives. Like, it's just it doesn't feel like he's driving with any real force or any real determination to finish at the rim. It feels like he's driving to kick out or get to a mid-range, turnaround jumper. Like, and that's where it really sticks out. And I was saying before the show, like, if this is where Luka's at with his knee and it's just not going to get better between now and, Wednesday for Game 5, like, one, that puts the Mavericks in a really interesting spot for the rest of the series. But if they go on to win this series, which obviously is still very much a possibility. I know everyone, we're all very upset. We'll talk about the Clippers' just insane shot making here in a bit, which is really the story of this game. But like, it's concerning because it's just he's clearly not 100%, and the Mavericks, they need him 1 of 9 from 3. What is he at now for the series? Like it has to be in the teens.
He was shooting 33% from the field for the series coming into this game. But, yeah, his three-point shooting has just not been there. That's a really good indicator if your knees and legs and all that are in there, which brings us to the Kawhi Leonard of it all, where Kawhi Leonard didn't play in this game. And you and I had both said he kind of made them worse the last two games. He made their offense more predictable. He made them a little bit easier to guard. He made them less versatile, I think. He helped defensively, I think, but he just wasn't right. They limited his minutes in Game 3, and then he just did not play in Game 4. And then Ty Lue says that he's out indefinitely, and he said it's a devastating blow for Kawhi Leonard, which does not sound like he's coming back in this series at all. But this Clippers team has always been very deep, and that was going to be one of their things. It's like, can their shot makers be better than Luka and Kyrie and whoever else scrounges up some points for the Mavericks? And that's exactly what happened in this game. And so you go from one end of it where Kawhi is out because of his knee, and his knee was holding them back. And now you have Luka's knee for the Mavericks, in a way, holding them back in a way. I think it may have been more fouls than it was his knee necessarily, but I don't know. That's one of those you wish that Luka had truth serum where you're just like, hey, man, was it your knee or were you worried about foul trouble? Like, which one was it? Like, which one hurt you the worst defensively on that side? Because he's just letting Harden go by him. Because normally what he's been doing when he gets these one-on-one matchups is he'll just turn face and stonewall them. But they were calling so many weird things in this game that if he did that, that could have been a foul. Like, and Harden was flopping all over the place like he does. And, yes, Luka flops too, but – like, Harden was flopping all over the place. Kyrie was doing the Harden head nod thing to the refs after one timeout. Like, you never know. And so you're just put in a really precarious situation if you're Luka at the end there. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what did them in at the end of this.
Nice word choice. Precarious.
You like that one?
Went deep in your playoff bag for that one.
Hey, if Luka's not in his bag, at least I could be I can be in a bag.
In Luka's defensively, it's not like they switched PJ onto Harden there at the end. I don't know why.
He got beat too.
Yeah, he was getting blown by two, but I don't know why there was Luka was just picking up Harden with 5 fouls. Unless I was missing it, there wasn't any action to make that matchup happen. The Mavericks were just doing it, and I mean it was just a paint walking into the paint because the Mavericks, like you said, I guess we're worried that any physicality would get called, but also the threat of a step-back three, and that's what making shots opens up for teams where Paul George, James Harden are hitting shots. So now you have
to stay
this
home.
Huge threat, and it's just this is why the Mavericks I think have been struggling so much offensively. Is like the Clippers haven't needed to send that much help or attention to Luka because he cannot beat Terrence Mann off the dribble right now. He just cannot do it. Terrence Mann is clamping him up. He's doing a great job. He's playing physically. And Luka it just looks like a health thing to me, which I know I'm bailing him out a little bit, but it's just what my eye test tells me.
No, I mean he was a game time decision before the game. Like it's real.
Yeah.
I mean it's not like a Luka boo boo. It's not a fake injury where you go, oh, Luka's just not feeling it, and then he just holds his. I mean it is a real thing that he was dealing with it, and in this game it seemed to pop up more than in some of the other ones where. Honestly, in the other ones, too, he hasn't shot well from three. He didn't look like he had the same lift or boost or anything like that. And the Mavs were able to just overcome it. And they almost overcame it in this game, too. Like, you got to give the Mavericks a ton of credit for their fight back. And obviously, we'll talk about Kyrie and how huge he was in this game. But if you're going to look at how this game was lost for the Mavericks and why it came down to that, it was early in the game. They just dug themselves such a hole with the Clippers' insane shot making. The Clippers started this game shooting 11 of 17. The Mavs started 0 for 11. I mean, that is just such a hole that you can't dig out of. And to do it, you need an insane run, which they got, insane defense, which they got, insane shot making from somebody, which they got from Kyrie. And then you just need the plays at the end of the game to just go exactly right for you. And I think the thing that really broke it down at the end was just Luka not being 100%. What we've seen from him the last couple of games here. And so that, to me, was the big difference at the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great run, and you got to give them a ton of props for coming back.
We will.
I mean, it was potentially about to be the one of the best comebacks in the history of the sport. Oh, but yeah, it's just
2 minutes.
When it was takeover time, it's just a 60% Luka or whatever. It's just not there. Like Paul George and James Harden were getting theirs, and the Mavericks just needed their stars, and Kyrie was great. Mavericks just needed their stars to get going too.
That doesn't even explain. That doesn't even describe it to me. It's like Paul George and James Harden were getting theirs, but also taking things that weren't theirs as well. You know, it's like take what the game gives you. No, they were like taking stuff as well too. And Paul George was due for a game, and he had at least an amazing first half and a couple big shots. So coming up, let's talk about Kyrie. Let's talk about how the Mavs made the comeback because, man, they did go down 31, but they made this huge, awesome comeback. Let's talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the type of person that likes to take things just a little further when you go on an adventure? Ever wonder what type of things or adventure could be around the corner for you? You need to check out our friends at Nissan. They have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to that next level. Check out the 2024 Nissan Rogue. Perfect for city drives, great escapes. The classic exclusive Google built-in is always updating. It's your assistant on call for almost anything. They've got Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. That 2024 Nissan Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Also, check out the 2024 Nissan Armada. It will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. 8 people, 8 animals, doesn't matter. Tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Nissan Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Pathfinder, and Armada, and go on your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Again, that is NissanUSA.com. We're also brought to you by Monopoly Go. We got to pause here and talk more about Monopoly Go. You know what we're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but just know there's so much good stuff going on in this game of Monopoly. Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments and all kinds of different things where you work together, build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. So you can play by yourself. You can play with a friend. That's super fun, too. You get unique stickers that you can trade with friends and all things like that. Emojis to taunt friends and stuff like that. All kinds of fun stuff you can do in Monopoly Go. They has new and exciting every day. Constantly changing tournaments and challenges, and a ton to include their own little mini games and unique things like that. There's always new timed events that will help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something new and fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go download it now at the App Store or Google Play. It's Monopoly Go. Check it out now. Today's episode is brought thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. If you want to support the show even further, text me, get text alerts from me and things like that. Subscribe to the subtext. Click the link in the description. Text the number in the description of the show wherever you're listening to this, and you get text straight from me. I do watchbacks. I'll do video reviews of quarters. You can watch a quarter with me. I'll do things like that. I'm also thinking about doing Zooms where Locked On Saints did this, where I'll just host a Zoom, and a bunch of you can jump in, ask questions, and it'll be just like our own impromptu Zoom podcast where I can meet a bunch of you guys. So subscribe to the subtext if you're interested in things like that. All right, Slightly. We talked about how the Mavs made, or why the Mavs lost this game in the end. At least we think. How did they get down? Let's just start. Let's go back and how did they get down? They were down 31 points. It's insane. If you look at their if you ever look at like the flow chart on NBA.com, go to NBA.com and they're like box score, go to game charts and look at their flow chart. It is insane looking, like absolutely insane, because the Mavs had like a 4-point lead early and then they go down big. And it was almost the same script as game one, where the Mavs at 3:44 left in the quarter were down 9 in both games. Like they got down a 9-point lead in both of those games. And then the Clippers just took it in the second quarter, and the Mavs offense just fell off a cliff in both instances. But then the Mavs fought back. Was it just the difference in shooting? Like I mentioned, the Clippers started 11 of 17 from 3. Mavs started 0 of 11 from 3. Was it just magnets slightly? Was it just that made the Mavs go down big?
I think shooting, like game one, I think we could have said their physicality and their energy was just way off. And
yeah,
maybe a little bit of that today. But yeah, I think the early start was just the Mavs. The Clippers started the game absurdly hot from 3, and the Mavericks missed every single 3 that they shot. Literally, they started the game. I think they started game 3 0 of 8 from 3 in the first quarter, and in the first quarter of this game, I think they started 0 of 7. So
they started 0 of 11.
0 of 11 in this game
total. Yeah, because Kyrie hit the first one, and they were 1 of 12 at that point.
Yeah. Well, in the first quarter, the Mavs, not named Luka Doncic, were 1 of 11 from the field. So. Just horrible shot making for the Mavericks, terrible offense. And we gave Luka some stuff earlier. Just concerned about how Luka looks just with his health. But I mean, in the first quarter, he was really the only guy who was doing pretty much anything on the team offensively.
Right.
So they gotta game 3. It has to be a point it has to be a point to win the first quarter. It has to, because obviously game 1, game 5. Yeah, what did I say?
Game 3. I was like, they can go back in time. They won that one. Though. We don't want them to go back in time and do that one again.
They've lost the first quarter in 3 of the 4 games in this series. And obviously, in both losses, they've gotten destroyed in the first quarter. It can't be this digging yourself out of these holes every game. It can't. And this is who this team was like at the end of the season, too. And we were saying it going into the series where it's like, I don't want them to get too comfortable thinking, hey, we could be down 15 at halftime. It's cool. Like, we'll come back. It's a tough thing to do in the league. Very tough.
It absolutely is. And the shooting was like the Clippers made insane shots. I mean, how many times was I sitting here just looking at Paul George going, oh, my God, I can't believe he just made that shot. I mean, give credit to them. They made really tough shots, and they kept doing it. And it was everybody, too. I mean, everybody in that first half was making insane shots for the Clippers. They were 14 of 21 from 3 in the first half. Paul George hit 6 threes. James Harden hit all 4 of his. Norman Powell hit 2 of his. Westbrook hit a 3. Like, when Westbrook is hitting a 3 and Luka and no one else in the Mavs are hitting 3s on the other end, that's when you start thinking about the magnets. The magnets on the rim.
I mean, this could have been a Magnets game. I mean, some of the shots they were hitting were
it wasn't the first half for sure.
Some of the shots they were hitting were just insane. And, like, look, if you want – because, we record these pretty much right after the game. So there's a lot of, emotions and your brain's not fully, like, functioning. But, like, whenever it's all said and done and the dust settles, you're going to look at this and say, okay, they shot 62% from 3. Like, you're just not.
Yeah, right. Like, you just don't win those games.
Yeah, you're not. This is the Heat and Celtics game 2 where the
100%.
Heat shot 50-something% from 3, and everyone's like, what's going on? And then it's like, well, they shot 50% from 3. Like, that's not going to happen again. It's just not. If the Clippers shoot 62% from 3 again, well, you're just not meant to. You're not meant to ever beat them, I guess. But
we knew that the shooting discrepancy between the two teams was going to be big, right? The Mavericks had not shot the ball well to end the season. They hadn't really needed to because they found other ways to score. But they hadn't really shot the ball well. They don't have the personnel to shoot the ball that well from 3. And we knew that the Clippers did have that, and the Clippers did rely on that in their offense. And so we knew that that was going to be a big difference between the two. But, like, not starting 11 of 17 from 3 and 0 for 11. I mean, that is just – I mean, the Mavs don't shoot 0% from 3 on average.
Right. I mean, we could say a lot about what happened. Like, that's the game right there. Like, that we could talk about we could talk about adjustments at the end of the game. The reality is you go down by 31 points, 15 minutes in. Like, you're just like, it's hard to outscore teams by 30 points, especially in the postseason. Like that's what you have to do. You have to win the rest of the game by 32 points to win the basketball game. So you just can't dig yourself these, not just holes. Like, it's one thing to dig yourself a 9-point hole, like these canyons that you have to climb out of. It's just like it's not sustainable.
Camp Green Lake wouldn't even approve that as a hole. Like, hey, it's too big. It only is supposed to be the width of your shovel and the depth of your shovel. Like, that's not a hole anymore. It's something more. Yeah. Kyrie, we gotta give him credit, man, because he had his best game in the playoffs so far. 40 points for him, just some absolutely massive killer shots. 14 of 25. We wanted to see him aggressive. They desperately needed him to be aggressive. He played over 44 minutes. Like, this guy was such a warrior and really kickstarted this whole thing in the second quarter when he hit that first 3 that they hit. 5:32, he gets his first points of the game. He hadn't scored until 5 minutes left in the second quarter, but he gets his first shot, and then he hits the first 3 for the Mavericks, and then he hits another pull-up 3, cuts it to 22, and this crowd finally came back. Like, sitting here in the arena, it was dead. I mean, it was just dead in that second quarter when they were down and down big. But then Kyrie goes on a little run himself, and he brought him back in, and they were only down 22 at that point, which in this series has been insanely big. But Kyrie really kickstarted that comeback, and like the way he was playing and shooting, like, you got to give hats off to him, man. He was amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I said before the series started, like, if Kyrie is the second or third best player in the series,
right,
then the Mavs should win it comfortably, and I think that's been true. Unfortunately, though, the caveat to that was I assumed that Luka would be the best player in the series, and up until this point, I think Kyrie's probably been pound for pound the best player.
Harden has had some really good games.
Yeah, I mean, Harden and I mean, that's true. But for the Mavericks, it feels like Kyrie's been the shot making that he put on display there during that stretch he had was just absolutely insane. That one finish he had over 3 dudes was just crazy. And I guess if I had to nitpick anything, it would I wish it was just from the go, opening tip. Like Kyrie's aggressive and hunting his shots, but we just know that's not how he's been all year long. And 40 points. He did everything he could to will this team to a win.
He absolutely did. I mean, he was amazing in this. If you're going to nitpick anything he did, he had 7 turnovers and only 5 assists, which is just a really bad assist turnover ratio. And he had a couple that were just, but it's the same with Luka's defense. Like they are exerting a ton of effort on the defensive end. And at a certain point, that's going to lead to bad things on one end or the other. Right. And so, all right, coming up, let's talk about the other guys that deserve credit for that third quarter comeback run, because man, the Mavs did fight. Like, if I'm going to take anything positive out of this, I know a lot of you don't like the moral victory thing, but if I'm going to take anything positive, this Mavericks team never gives up and continues to fight. So let's talk about how they did coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. If you're sitting at home and you're just like, man, I got to get something for my mother for Mother's Day. It's coming up right now. And you're like, man, my mom lives in a different state like mine does. You know that you can get DoorDash for not just food and not just meals and things like that. You can get tons of different expertly crafted bouquets from all kinds of different places. You can get grocery delivery. You can get convenience store runs. You can do all kinds of stuff with DoorDash. It's not just meals and food anymore. So never too late to show your mom that you love her this Mother's Day with DoorDash. Surprise her with flowers, gadgets, self-care essentials. Maybe your mom doesn't want flowers because they die. Maybe she wants something that lasts. You can get that on DoorDash as well. So get Mother's Day gift as unique as your mother is with DoorDash. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. Again, use that promo code LOCKEDONNBA. Order using DoorDash today. Terms and conditions, they do apply. All right, Slightly, let's talk about who else deserves some credit because, man, the Mavs go down 31, but they take the lead with 2:15 left in this game. I can still see it. Kyrie hits a shot. He had been a warrior. He'd been fighting through everything. He hits a shot with 3 Clippers on him as he's going up to the rim, and he hits the shot. They go up 1 with 2:15 left in this game. How did they get there? How did they complete this comeback, basically?
Kyrie Irving, you started making threes, and defensively, the intensity and effort was really, really good in the third quarter. Just sort of clamping up. The Clippers started to miss some shots, and then they reverted back to hitting every single shot that they put up. But they did a great job, physical. I mean, blocking shots, getting steals. Like we've seen that all series from them. Really, is that they're the block numbers, the steal numbers are all really, really good. And I mean, it was just I don't have the numbers in front of me because my browser's being really stupid. But it felt like the Clippers didn't get anything easy in that third quarter. Like nothing in the paint, pretty much. I'm looking at they had 10 point paints there, but it's just I felt that the Mavs did such a good job there of forcing the Clippers to work incredibly hard for every single shot that they took. And for the first half, the Clippers were making crazy shots, and then that didn't happen in the third. And then Kyrie just went absolutely bonkers, and Derek Jones Jr. had some big plays in that quarter as well.
The Clippers took 3 threes in the whole third quarter. Yeah. Like if it's just gonna be magnets and they're just gonna hit every shot they take, deny them that shot. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Mavs played with size a lot in that third quarter. You had Gafford played 6 minutes. Lively played basically all the other minutes in that, 5.5 minutes in that. And the Mavs had 9 offensive rebounds in that quarter. Huge, absolutely massive in that way. 9 offensive rebounds was just massive for the Mavericks. They only scored 9 second chance points off of those, but still, you got extra possessions. They took 25 shots. They only hit 2 of 8 from 3, so it's not like the Mavericks, it just completely switched, and all of a sudden the Mavericks were hitting all their shots, but the hustle, the defense, like you said, Kyrie leading it all, Derek Jones making some big plays, just some massive stuff from this team in that third quarter to make any kind of comeback. It was so big. And I got to give Jason Kidd credit for one thing in this game, and maybe we'll talk about some complaints, but I'm going to give him credit for one thing in this game. 6:50 left in the third quarter. The ball goes out of bounds, and they call it Clippers ball. Zubac had obviously been fouled by P.J. Washington, and Jason Kidd goes and challenges it to turn it back over and get the Mavs get the ball. And I thought that was a smart play because the Mavs got that challenge, and they got the ball back in there, and they couldn't go back and look at any kind of foul or anything like that they missed instead.
Stupidest rule in maybe all of sports.
It is.
Hey, it benefited the Mavs, so I love it. Great job, Adam Silver.
Mavs also cut it to 2 with 1:30 left in the third quarter too. So I mean, they like fought back, dug themselves a hole again, and then fought back again in this one.
Yeah.
All right, you have any more shout-outs or gripes you want to give to anybody?
Well, I mean, we're not going to talk about the biggest point of contention here.
Them playing small for the last 10 minutes of the game.
Yes, I disagree. Now, this is one of those things where it's like they lost the game, so immediately we go to that. The biggest thing in this game is the Mavs were down by 31 points. That's the biggest thing. Like, that's just it. But, yes, I thought the decision to go small there was maybe not the right choice considering how badly you were getting beat and how badly your point of attack defenders were getting destroyed by Harden. And that was really where it crumbled defensively down the stretch. Was they just did not have a person who could stay in front of James Harden. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't go towards Derrick Jones Jr., who's been your best point of attack defender all season long.
I know.
To have that matchup. But that's really where it comes because everyone's, it starts with your point of attack defenders. And if Harden's just going to walk, like genuinely, it's not like Harden's this like athletic freak. He's literally walking into the paint.
And then Luka does to people normally.
Yeah, and it's just Maxey's in a terrible position because, if he helps up, which he did, and it led to some Plumlee lobs, it led to some Plumlee, fouls, and it just the decision to go small I don't think was great because I think you needed a little bit more size, but
yeah, to me they did it too early. They played that the last 10 minutes of the game and just wore those guys down. Like the reason why you have these big centers is to cover up for mistakes. And so it's not life or death every single screen, every single possession when you're defending one-on-one. Is to have that guy behind you to at least come over and help. And yeah, they did get beat on a couple of those too, and they got beat on the Harden pick and roll even with centers in the game, but yeah, I just thought that it was just a little too early to go for the last 10 minutes. Like that's a long time after you did just you put forth all that effort to come back in that third quarter, cut it to 2, and then you go back down again at the start of the fourth, and you're like, all right, well, we got to get some offense. So let's do this offensive group that had been really good. The Mavs small ball unit, to give some credit, that small ball unit had been really good so far in this Clipper series and been good the rest of the season at the end of the season, but yeah, I thought they just need just a little more, and they went to that too early, and then it wore down. It wore down Luka, obviously. It wore down PJ, which we saw at the end, where Harden just flew by him too. And yeah, I was surprised they didn't go with Derrick Jones Jr. They really haven't put him on Harden that much. Maybe there's something about that matchup that they don't like about it. But
yeah, it was rough in game 1 early.
Yeah. So,
but
and Josh Green, was given some time in this one, and his point of attack defense is just not there either. The Mavs, that's something they've just really needed. And Derrick Jones has really stepped up in that. And so if they're not going to put him on Harden, then I don't know that they have another answer on the roster.
Especially because Exum is unplayable, unfortunately.
Yes, that is a great point.
This has been one of the more shocking developments for me. I thought Exum was kind of like an ironclad playoff guy because of how smart he is and just that ability to be a ball handler and make the right choices. And also the defense that he brings. But man, 2 minutes in this game. Like he's done. Like he's out of the rotation currently.
Here's another thing. We got Hardy minutes. We got more Hardy minutes than we got Dante Exum. Their offense was so bad. Jason Kidd goes, I'm going to try Jaden Hardy in this moment right here. And like that was one of the most shocking things in this series so far. That was the first time I was literally surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this. Now Tim was out, and so he couldn't go to Tim. But man, that was surprising to me to see Hardy at all, and he played more minutes than Exum.
Yeah, that is crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
But that says to me more about Exum than it does about Hardy and about what Kidd thinks about them. I mean, yeah, that's been rough. And this has been the thing: the Clippers are deeper than the Mavericks. They just are, right? And so that was going to be again. It's the same thing with the 3-point stuff. We knew it was going to be an issue. We didn't know that it was going to be this big of a divide, and it was going to come back to bite them because now you have a role player that you expected to play. Actually, 2 role players you expected to play in Tim and Exum that are not playable right now, which is really stretches the rest of this team really thin.
Yeah. And, I mean, I just can't get over this number. 62% from 3, man. Like,
yeah. You can't just go back to it. In all these things we're griping about, they could have found a way to win. They still could have figured out some way to win, and that's the playoffs.
Yeah, that is the postseason, man. And it's you come out in game 5 on I don't know why I keep trying to say game 3. You come out in game 5 on Wednesday, and you get a win. And again, we're back on top of the world with a chance to close out the series at home on Friday night,
awesome.
like where the crowd's going to be insane. So, like, you just got to come out and just. We talked about this on our last episode that it was like I wouldn't be surprised if Kawhi Leonard misses the rest of the series. That's how rough he looked when he was out there. And
they said it out indefinitely.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, you said it earlier in the episode. Like what they said about him today doesn't. I don't think he plays again in this series. Like that would be a little bit surprising to me. And so you got to figure out a way to not get off to these slow starts. This group without Kawhi, they play a little bit faster. They play with a little bit more energy. The ball moves a little bit more because it's a little bit less ISO heavy. And it's mainly through James Harden. So you're getting pick and rolls and kickouts and stuff. You got to figure out a way to not lose the first quarter of these games by 25 points.
Ugh.
That just has to. Yeah, I mean it comes like we can talk about all the end of game decision making and the lineups, but you cannot be down 30 points in the first half. Like it's just so hard to beat a team by 31 points over the last 30 minutes of game time.
It's miraculous that Kyrie led them all the way back from 31. Like that is.
It is.
Says so much about the type of player that he is.
Let's end by try to be as positive as possible because I tweeted out. Somebody tell me everything's right. And everyone's like, that's supposed to be your job. And I'm like, all right. Let's lock in and figure something out here.
I got one.
Okay.
The Mavs are 2 quarters away from sweeping this series so far. That's it.
That's
first quarter of game 4 and the second quarter of game 1. They scored 5 more points in each, and maybe they win both of those games. Like, if I'm going to be positive, I'm like, all right, the ball has just not bounced for them in 2 different quarters really badly. And, that is the difference so far. It's wild.
Yeah, that's it. 1, again, 62% from 3. That's not happening again. It just is not. Paul George and James Harden, I'm willing to say that's not happening again. 62% is absolutely insane. 50, that's different. You can get hot shooting games. 62 is insane.
Paul George and James Harden went 23 of 36 from the field, 11 of 15 from 3, both of them together.
Yeah, and look, I highly, highly doubt that that's happening again. And, well, I feel weird even saying this because we've been saying it, but it's hard to imagine that Luka doesn't have a game at some point.
Oh, here we go. This is where we started, is if this is the Luka we're going to get, then
I know,
what to expect? They've got to win in all these other margins that we're talking about.
But even still, there's got to be a game. 1 of 9 from 3.
Will there be?
1 of 9 from 3. What is he shooting from 3 in this series? I would be surprised if it's over 15%.
It has not been good for sure at all. But
right now it says, wow, it was 30% going into this game, which is very surprising. But that's obviously going to go down. But
sure.
He's going to have a game. Like surely he's going to have a game where he starts 4 of 6 from 3 or something, and the offense just opens up.
You were just waiting in this game for him to have it, but no, he hasn't had a good shooting game from 3 yet at all. So we'll hope for that.
Or from the field.
Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Go watch Slightly Biased on YouTube, and we'll be back tomorrow with more stuff and more talk. I think me and Tim Cato are going to do something. I think me and Reggie are going to do something, and then we'll have Slightly back for the next game. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs. Peace out. Boom. The Magnets!
The Magnets.
The Magnets.
Man. I'm sad.
Magnets.